Lisa Crenshaw here to talk to you about the Eye of Ra, the sun god, the god that the Egyptians worshipped. Um, they were called the sun god. I mean, I don't think it's because they worshipped the sun as a god. I mean, Jesus is a son and he is God in the flesh. Therefore, he is a sun god, and Ra was a sun god, no different than Jesus.
What I want to do here is I want to take a look at this picture of me. Here I am as a baby, and that's me, Lisa, little Lisa. And this is a picture of the human brain. And that would be the human brain, and that would be Lisa with the human brain atop of her head. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you an illustration because I cannot go inside, my head to actually show you. So I have to bring the human brain to the outside and talk to you about my brain. Okay, so here we go. The human brain, as you can see, as I explained in earlier videos, the human brain represents the dove. Here's his head, and here's his eye, and his nose, and here's his body, and his wing, gripping the brain stem, which represents the blade of grass. So this is the dove, gripping the blade of grass. It's the brain and the brain stem, but it's the dove and the blade of grass, the dove that Noah sent out to retrieve the blade of grass to let him know that the waters had receded. The god Ra wore a falcon or an eagle. So an eagle or a falcon means dove. So really, he wore a bird. He wore the dove, but it's just represented by the eagle or the falcon. And then he had a sun disk. If you look closely at this picture here, excuse me, at the head of the dove, you can see the image of Jesus. You can see that this is his face right there. And here's his sash coming down right here. Here is the arm of the robe right here. Here's his hand sticking out of the robe, resting on his right knee. Here's his right knee. Here's his right leg. Here's his left hand. You can see the cuff of the robe right there. His left hand resting on his left knee. And here's his left leg. And there's Jesus sitting there. It's plain as day. He is sitting on the head of the creature. So the head itself represents the disc because it is shaped as a disc. It is a disc. It is a disc shape. So this is the disc. And since Jesus is the sun and he is on the head, so he's on the disc. This is the sun disc. This entity, the human brain itself, is the dove, it is the bird, it is the falcon, it is the eagle. So the human brain is the eagle, the falcon, or dove, and Jesus sitting there on the head of him. This is the sun. Okay, let's get a good look at that. Sitting there. Let's get in there close. Sitting there. On the head, and the head is the disc, so that is the sun disc. So I have given you the bird and the sun disc. I've given you the dove and Jesus and the head of the dove, or I've given you the falcon, the eagle, and the sun disc, however you want to look at it. And then as myself, as a baby, and you have to imagine here, in this area right here, lets you know that this is where the tattoo Ra is. So what I've given you is I have given you the God, the baby, giving you the God, the baby. I've given you Ra. I'm going to talk about when I was 7 or 8 years old. I went to this school called George Southard Elementary School, and we would take this Iowa test. It was called the Iowa test. And remember, I was either 7 or 8. I get it confused because for second grade, I had Mr. Cordes, and then he became my third grade teacher the next year. But we took the Iowa test. And there was a question on the test that said, the children play in the playground, which I answered false. sometime later, I don't know, days later after the test, the principal came down to the classroom and he pulled me out of the class and he said, I want to ask you a question. He said, there was a question on the test, the children play in the playground, and you answered false. He said, all the other children answered true, and I want to know why you answered false. And I told him, I said, well, because the children don't play in the playground, they play on top of the playground. Well, the principal let me go back in my classroom. The next day, I was pulled out of my classroom, and I was brought down to this room. You see, back then, kids that needed help would be taken out of class during the day, and they'd be taken down to the computer room to get some extra help, I guess. But I was taken down to this room the following day, and I was sat in front of this little computer, and I put these headphones on. I can't remember what was popping up on the screen, but I do remember pushing the big white buttons, so, having the headphones on, something, whatever, and I'm pushing buttons. Never heard anything else about it after that. They never spoke to my parents, never spoke to my mother, never nothing. Now that I'm older and I've done all these videos and, I know all the things, and I figured that the Iowa test is the I of Ra test, the I of Ra test. It is the God test. And I guess I must have passed something, or he would not have came and got me out of my classroom and brought me down there and tested me some more, and then never told me why. Being 7 or 8, but never ever contacting my mother and telling my mother anything. So it's all starting to make sense. I guess I passed the God test, the Iowa test, the I of Ra test.